Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Drop it. Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Hello and welcome to the Monday Movie Show. We have quite a packed show coming up this week in our cinema section and then especially in our DVD section. I'm Andrew and with me is Stuart.
Hello. Probably strange hearing it done this way around, but we thought we'd give it a go. Yeah,
we're changing things up this week, so probably going to be a haphazard show at best. But in the show we'll have the cinema... See it already? Brilliant, there we go. The UK box office top 10, some movie news, and then reviews of these new releases.
Video game-inspired animated film Wreck-It Ralph. The movie, it's not a biopic, but it's based around the creation of Psycho in Hitchcock, and a zombie comedy romantic film.
Don't say it, because it's not.
Yeah,
I don't want the Shaun of the Dead one, no.
Yeah, warm bodies.
Yeah. So... Without further ado, let's go straight into the UK box office top 10. Starting at number 10 with movie 43, which I'm going to comment on because Stuart hasn't seen it, unfortunately for me, because that means I can't then sort of nag him about it. Although you are going to see it when it comes out on DVD, aren't you?
Not that I'm going to, I have to.
Yes. It's a movie which is downright awful, where there's loads of skits, with loads of big massive A-list celebrities. God knows how they managed to get them into this film, but it's awful. It's not funny. It's like a really bad episode of Saturday Night Live where all the jokes are having left on the cutting room floor, and left in place of sick humour. Number 9 is Bullet to the Head, which is the new entry from Sylvester Stallone, where he's sort of forced to join forces with a cop, and he's a hitman who has to go out and try and avenge his partner's death. Typical 80s action film, really not up to the standards of modern cinema. If you showed it to someone who's watching a film 20 years ago, they'd probably enjoy it. But aside from that, unless you really love your 80s action Sylvester Stallone movies, give it a miss till it comes out on DVD. Number 8 is Monsters Inc. in 3D.
How could you get that wrong?
Because I'm reading on the website where somebody, not me, posted it as Monsters in 3D.
Really? Okay. That will be my bad. But I've been rushed off my feet the past week. I've been stuck on a stupid little crappy retail course where my brain has been melted badly and I have to put up the box office top 10 when I get in. So my brain has melted, unlike you, who decided to put up the post and you made a mistake on Anthony Hopkins' name and called him Sit Anthony Hopkins. He was like a dog. So yeah. Monsters Inc. 3D, pointless. Just don't go see it in 3D. Wait for it to come out on 3D Blu-ray if you want to see it in 3D, or just go out and buy the Blu-ray in 2D.
Number 7 is Zero Dark 30.
Yep, it's a film directed by Catherine Bigelow, which both me and Andy love her films. It's a brilliant film itself. It's got Jessica Chastain in it. She was, let's just say it, robbed of a BAFTA, which I'll tell you about a little bit later on in the news. It's a really intelligent film. It sort of, I've been hearing a lot of people, well, specifically I listened to the BBC Radio 5 live podcast, and one person sent in a letter saying that the character development wasn't very good at all. I completely disagreed with them because I thought the character development was really well done in the movie. Jessica Chastain's character built up in confidence the more through the film she got.
Yeah, I think it's because of the fact of that there's not... I mean, it's the thing of that people are pointing that out, I think, because you don't see her having a relationship at any point in the film, which is the thing that... I think that's why people are mistaking character relationship for character development. Which there is definitely character development in this film. It's just really, it's not in your face, it's very subtle, and it is there throughout the film. And number 6 is The Impossible.
I don't know what more we can say about The Impossible. It's a tough watch. It will always remain as a tough watch. A lot of people are annoyed the fact that they decided to change the family from a Spanish family to an American one, which is an interesting thing to do. But it's Juan Antonio Bayona who's brilliant at what he does, and this is another one of the films where he's showing off his talent. It's an extremely impressive film, and before it disappears out the box office top 10, you should go to see it.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. Though, bear in mind, if you're going to take family to see it, it's rated 12A. It really should be rated 15. So be prepared for that if you're taking anyone younger than that age for some possibly shocking moments for them. And number 5 is Life of Pi.
Again, it's another. It's one of those films that's a visually stunning movie. Ang Lee's gotten brilliance out of the film, especially from Suraj Sharma, who plays the younger Pi, when he's on the boat itself with the tiger, and that's all he's got for company after a disaster. It's brilliantly acted. It's brilliantly directed. It's just a really, really good film. It's actually a top 5 of excellence, to be honest.
It is a fantastic film, and you should see it at the cinema. And I, for one, think you should see it in 3D, because the 3D on it is the best 3D in a film since Avatar, in a live-action film since Avatar. And number 4 is Lincoln.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Lincoln. Andy, I'm guessing you've still yet to see it.
I still haven't. No, I want to, and I'm going to try and get to it, because I want to see it before it does go out in cinemas, and I'm annoyed that I haven't had time lately.
Yeah, so it's a brilliantly directed film. It's a extremely brilliantly acted film. There is every single actor in the movie is on point, is on form. Daniel Day-Lewis is,
as the BAFTAs have said.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis is on brilliant form. Tommy Lee Jones, if it wasn't for Daniel Day-Lewis in the film, I think Tommy Lee Jones would have stole the film, and he's a very close second in the movie. It's very long, and it's not the kind of like action orientated film that you would have probably expected from Spielberg. It's a more reeled back movie, but it's brilliant because of that.
New entry at number 3 for Flight.
Yeah, Denzel Washington steals the show in a movie which I thought it's got a few problems. It's the typical Robert Zemeckis movie where he needs something on both ends of the film to prop it up. It's more about a character piece about somebody who's got an addiction to sex, drugs and alcohol, rather than a movie about a plane disaster, which is what you see in the first 20 minutes and what happens in the last 20 minutes of the film. But that's not to say it's not a brilliant film. Denzel Washington carries the movie, and he has to carry the movie for it to work.
Number 2, Django Unchained.
Quentin Tarantino doing what Quentin Tarantino does. He's obsessed with taking a film that... He's obsessed with taking a genre of a film and doing something completely different with it. He did that with Inglourious. He's done the same with Django Unchained about slavery. It's brilliantly acted by a lot of the actors in the film. Scarily acted by Samuel L. Jackson. He's on I don't know what the hell he's decided to put into his mind to play the character that he's played, but whatever he's done a brilliant job of it. Leonardo DiCaprio is playing a character you wouldn't have expected to see as well, and again, it's what Tarantino does brilliantly with these actors. Christoph Waltz, who will pop up a little bit later on in the news, is again fantastic.
And that means our number 1 movie in the UK box office top 10 for there's 4 weeks or 5 weeks?
Yes, 4 weeks.
4 weeks. For the 4th week in a row, Les Miserables.
Yeah, Les Miserables is one of the only films in the last few years to actually spend 4 weeks at number 1. 4 weeks in a row, that is, at number 1. Skyfall was the other one. It's a well acted film. It's a full on musical rather than like the kind of musicals you normally expect, where you've got musical numbers, but then you have got proper, I wouldn't say character development, but you've got proper acting in it. This one is a full-on musical from start to finish. There might be one line of spoken dialogue. Everybody is on form of sorts. Russell Crowe, I think, is out of his league a little bit going up against Hugh Jackman, but he tries his hardest, which is what the director would have wanted from him. It's still a really good film, and it's doing brilliantly for itself.
Yeah, now taking just over £30 million, which is staggering for the UK box office. So if you are listening to us live, as I'm aware, we have got Alex Foster listening to us. Hi to Alex. If you are listening on Spreaker Live, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and you want to join in with us, we are interactive because we are live. Just click on the little red number in the bottom right-hand corner, and that'll bring up the chat window for you to then chat with us. Now we're going to go straight into the news of the week, including a look at the BAFTAs, I believe.
Yeah, before I do that, I just get a notice here on Twitter that GameStar Junkie, or Cameron, has just found out he's going to have a little baby girl.
Hey, so, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to him. I was going to do my shout-outs at the end of the DVD and Blu-ray show, but I've just seen that on Twitter, and so I thought I would mention it. So yeah, congratulations to him. Right, movie news. Like Andy said, the BAFTAs, or the British Academy Film and Television Awards, were announced last night. It's sort of like there is 3 tiers when it comes to the film awards. You've got this, and then you will have the Oscars, which comes out, and in my opinion, the Razzies, which is the best one out of the 3. I know I'm missing out the Golden Globes, but I don't care about the Golden Globes. It's all about the BAFTAs, the Oscars, and the Razzies, in my opinion.
How many? I wonder. I'm interested to see how many movie 43 will get from the Razzies.
It's not nominated.
What?
Yep, the Razzie nominations were announced before the Oscar nominations, and movie 43 was not up for it. The reason being is because it wasn't screened to any of the panel.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be next year then, but I guarantee it's going to get nominated in a couple, at least.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, the BAFTAs were announced last night, and there were a few interesting surprises. Which cropped up. The best British film went to Skyfall, which is.
I have issues with that because I don't consider that, as much as it is Britain and Bond and all, I don't consider the Bond films now to be British films anymore since Sony bought over MGM. I'm sorry, it's just the way I view it.
Yeah, best supporting actor went to Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained,
Deservedly.
which is definitely worth it. Yeah, and best supporting actress went to Anne Hathaway for Les Miserables.
Also deservedly, yeah.
Yeah, one I had to mention was the Rising Star Award went to Juno Temple.
Which we were talking about this before the show. I am surprised about that because I am in amongst the other people that were mentioned. You said that there was I've forgotten her name now.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen, yeah. But the person who I thought that was going to go to was I thought that it was going to go to Suraj Sharma.
Yeah.
Who played Pi in Life of Pi. Who is basically, that's his first real acting performance in a film, and he is absolutely phenomenal in that film. So I'm glad that Juno Temple got it, but I think that he really should have got that.
Yeah, best director and best film. Best director went to Ben Affleck for Argo, and best film went to Argo.
I could not disagree with that. I absolutely loved Argo. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm glad that won that because it is an all-round just amazing piece of work.
Could this mean that it's got a higher chance of winning the Oscars? You never know. I've got a feeling that the Oscars might go with Lincoln, to be honest.
Well, it's possible because
what I think.
It's possible because of the whole thing of it being American and that feel to it, but I think that Argo's in with a good chance because of the fact of that it is a film that it has that feel of the 80s and the era and the 80s 70s era that it's kind of set with I think that I think that it will spark that feeling in a lot of people who watch it on the Oscars board.
No, I think Lincoln will do it because of the fact that it is historical and they'll lap that kind of thing up. The last two main ones to point out was Best Actor went to Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln, which definitely deserves that.
Yeah,
and the most interesting one was Best Actress went to Emmanuel Rava for Amour.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I mean, the thing of with Daniel Day-Lewis as well. I mean, I'm not surprised because he is that great of an actor, but I still haven't seen Lincoln, so I can't really comment on it. But I'm not honestly surprised. Because of you've seen what he's like in other films, he gives it his all. He really does.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Rava is the oldest person to ever win a BAFTA for Best Actress, which is interesting to hear. You can see the rest of the winners on MondayMovieShow.co.uk. The list is up on there.
Yeah. A couple other quick pieces of news from this week. One is that as well as doing episodes 7, 8 and 9 of the Star Wars movies, Disney's planning a series of standalone movies from the universe featuring characters that we already know from the other 6 movies. 2 of these have been sort of published, the details on Entertainment Weekly's website, because they've got some details there, supposedly of it being, one is going to be a young Han Solo origin story, and the other one is going to be a bounty hunter Boba Fett sort of origin story as well. There's also been rumoured to be another one which will feature Master Yoda.
I will get my own film, I will. Sorry, I couldn't resist doing that. It's interesting to see a Yoda film. I think that there might... I think the best way to get a Yoda film out would be an animated one, an animated Yoda film rather than a live action one, because I don't think you would be able to sustain a live action film. It wouldn't be very interesting.
How many times have you been practicing that?
Not very many. It comes natural.
The other piece as well is a Marvel piece of news that Chris Pratt, who's recently seen as one of the Marines at the end of Zero Dark 30, has landed the main role of Star-Lord in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The movie is being directed by James Gunn. It's due to be released in August of 2014 as the penultimate movie leading up to the end of Marvel's Phase 2 with the Avengers 2 in 2015.
Which I have nothing to say about that at all. More Marvel and more Avengers stuff. Whoopee.
I'm looking forward to it because I am a big sort of Marvel geek, but I know you're not so much. But okay, we're going to go for a quick break just now, after which we'll get back on into our movie reviews, the new cinema releases this week.
We are the Holocaust.
Hello, Internet. Lord Dalek Sex Worthington here. If you missed the last episode of We Are the Holocaust, Wrangling the Abbey Part 2, you missed murder.
No one steals pheasants from the news box.
Gazpacho soup. More murder.
Tell me, kid, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
You missed
sexy, sexy Batman time.
And you missed even more murder.
Why don't we sleep here?
Well, there is the fact that we've committed a series of grisly murders, and kipping at the scene of the crime might incriminate us.
More so than the fact we did it?
Stop us before we kill again by listening to We Are the Holocaust on Spreaker and iTunes. New episodes Friday night, 11 o'clock. Find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at We Are, with a letter R, the Holocaust.
So that's the Holocaust, which is on Friday nights at 11 o'clock, which I almost forgot there. So let's go straight into our first cinema release this week, which is Wreck-It Ralph. It's been a long time coming since it was released in America last year. The movie is it's a Pixar-like animation from Disney. It's not Pixar, but it is of the same kind of quality of animation as a Pixar movie. It's set in the world where the world of computer gaming and video gaming, where it basically like the thing like Toy Story, when the arcades are on and everyone's finished for the day and the arcade gets closed, all the games characters come to life of their own, and they all travel around between the computer games and are able to move through their extension cords and the power supply to actually move between the different games and have sort of like a life of their own. Amongst these games in one of the arcades is a game called Fix-It Felix, in which a character called Fix-It Felix Jr. takes on a villain of the game of Ralph, who is called Wreck-It Ralph, who basically wrecks a building and Felix comes in and repairs it. Ralph is sort of annoyed and fed up after 20 years of this, of being the bad guy, of being sort of killed off in the game and brought back to life every time because that's how it ends, and decides that he wants to be the hero for a change, and so goes off on a journey through other gaming machines, where he ends up in a candy racing game, looking to find a medal so that he can then be the good guy and be the hero and win for a change, where he then bumps into a strange little character named Vanellope. Here's a clip.
What's your name?
Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph.
You're not from here, are you?
No, well, yeah. I mean, not from right in this area. I'm just doing some work here.
What kind of work?
There's some routine candy tree trimming. You probably want to stand back. In fact, this whole area is technically closed while we're trimming.
Who's we?
Candy tree department.
Oh, where is everybody else?
Oh, it's just me today.
So you just meant like the royal we?
Yep. That's right.
Hey, are you a hobo?
No, I'm not a hobo, but I am busy. Okay, so you go home.
What's that? Didn't hear you. Your breath is so bad it made my ears numb.
Listen, I try to be nice.
I try to be nice.
You're mimicking
You're
me.
mimicking me.
Okay. That is rude, and this conversation is over.
I wouldn't grab that branch if I were you.
I'm from the candy tree department, so I know
it's a double stripe. Double stripes break, good doy. Hey, why are your hands so freakishly big?
I don't know. Why are you so freakishly annoying?
So from there, the two of them team up because of the fact that Vanellope is a glitch of the game and therefore not allowed to take part in it, but she wants to actually be a racer in the game and to actually be part of the game officially. And it's one of those films now where it's kind of like, I mean, I've already mentioned Toy Story because it is very similar in the basic idea of it, that when you go home for the day and the games are all left on overnight, that there is this whole thing of that as soon as people leave, it all comes to life and has a world of its own. In that respect, it is very similar to Toy Story, but it's about this whole thing of that you've got a character who is supposedly the villain and is tired of being the villain and wants to be the good guy, which is a nice sort of difference. I mean, it's obviously that kind of Disney thing you get to it, but it's a nice sort of different take on the villain characters, that they are the villain just because they're not a bad guy just because they are the bad guy, as it's said in the film. The animation on this really is the closest thing that Disney's ever done to a Pixar movie, and the story is as good as that as well. It's well written in a similar way and sort of with jokes to a Pixar film. It's not quite there, but it is really close. There's great voice casting here from John C. Reilly as Ralph, Sarah Silverman as Vanellope, as you heard there. You've also got in there Alan Tudyk, who a lot of people will know him, even if they might not recognise him in this film, because he's really great in this too. And Jane Lynch, who people will definitely recognise, although there's nothing wrong with that because she's great in this film too. It's a really fun film. It's good in 3D as well because it is an animated film, and it's worth checking out with kids, or even if you haven't got kids, go and see it. If you like the Pixar kind of films, those kind of mentality and the little bits of humour here and there, then you'll enjoy it. It's a good, fun film. There's also a small, like a Pixar film, a small animated film that's shown before it, which Stuart, you did post it on the website the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, it's called Paperman, and it's up for an Oscar under the best shorts.
And that is also shown in 3D. If you see the movie in the 3D version, that is done in 3D as well, and the 3D on that looks quite good as well. So it's worth checking out if you like the sort of Pixar Disney animation films, and especially if you like gaming, because there are lots of in-jokes for gamers in this. There's hundreds of jokes. I mean, when I saw this, it was a packed cinema because it was a preview, and people were absolutely laughing at a lot of. There was outbursts at a lot of the gaming gags in there. So yeah, definitely.
I specifically loved the meetings that Wreck-It Ralph went to, considering that he's in a room like an EA, an Alcoholics Anonymous kind of room, but this is for bad guys. It's a bad guys counselling area, and it's got like Zangief's in there, and Bison and Bowser and Zombie from Resident Evil. Just things like that made me crack up, because I loved the fact that they introduced those characters there. I was reading on a few places, people were wondering why Mario never cropped up, and they were toying with the idea of adding Mario to it.
I think that there was some kind of issue with that one at the time, but supposedly that might be something that they look at for the sequel, because there is going to be a sequel.
Yeah, because if you look at the Jane Lynch character, she plays sort of like a Samus Aran, a Metroid kind of character. in the film. That's the element which Wreck-It Ralph goes to first time when he's trying to win a medal. He goes to this like Space Marine combat game, which is very like Metroid, and her character is very like Samus Aran.
Yeah, although there is a backstory to her character which elicited a lot of sort of giggles from the gamers in the audience who just got the whole thing of this ludicrous character from these kind of games. So it was, I mean, it's got loads of those in-jokes that any gamer will find plenty of references in this to laugh at. Anyone who's not a gamer will enjoy it just as much, I think. I don't think that there'll be that much lost on them. I think anyone who's not a gamer will even get references to, I mean, there's obvious ones in there that you know just from seeing. I mean, you see Sonic in this at one point as well. So, I mean, you don't need to be a gamer, you just need to know of the basic games that are out there.
No, there is no Sackboy and there is no Nathan Drake. So sorry, Alex. I'm sorry to burst your bubble there.
There is Qbert, though. If you remember Qbert, and there's a great gag with Qbert that's brilliant in the film. I won't say what it is, but it's brilliant. If you've seen the trailer, it's in there, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yep. Right, next review. It's for Hitchcock, and it's directed by Sasha Jervis. I've got an even worse name to say later on, so that's not the worst I'm going to have to say. It stars Anthony Hopkins as Alfred Hitchcock, and his wife Alma is played by Helen Mirren, and it's set in 1959. And Alfred Hitchcock is sort of like at the top of his game, but people see that he's coming to the end of his career. He's 60, and they think that he needs to give away to the more younger directors around him, even though he's having a lot of success, specifically with his previous film North by Northwest. They think it's probably about time that he decides to hang up his belt. Instead, though, Hitchcock, he decides to come up with an idea where he wants to look around for a film that sort of like challenges people more so than what's out there. And he stumbles across a serial killer called Ed Gein, who was this guy who was obsessed with his mother, and he killed a lot of people. And then he discovers a book written about Ed Gein entitled Psycho, and his idea is to take Psycho and make it into a film. Paramount, however, the studio that he's with at the time, decides to think, no, this is not a good idea. We don't want a movie like that at all, because the MPAA in America was extremely strict in the 50s and 60s, even the 40s when it came to classification with films. They're a bit more stringent now. It's much more easier for films to be classified now. But back then, it was much more harder for a movie to be classified, and they didn't want to see violence. They didn't want to see sexual nudity or even sexual acts in a film, and this is what Alfred Hitchcock wanted to do with Psycho. Instead, he decides to fund the film because nobody will fund the film. He decides to fund the film with himself. It's sort of like it sort of like starts to kill his relationship with his wife even more, even though it seems to be disjointed because she doesn't get the plaudits that she thinks that she deserves, and she ends up she's got a friend who's played by Danny Houston, who's sort of like a writer also, and tries to write scripts for him as well. And he decides to do Psycho on his own back, and he gets in Scarlett Johansson, who plays Janet Leigh, and there's a part in the film where they're having a discussion on how they're going to shoot the very famous shower scene. Here's a clip.
I have a concern or two. Well, I'm an actress, of course, but I'm first a wife and a mother. And I'm just curious to know, how are you going to shoot this shower scene?
Yes, you in the Sherlock office.
It's only that, well, from here up, I'm not exactly boyish, so...
Allow me to set your mind at rest, my dear. I will be shooting short bits of film from various angles. Cut together, the montage will only suggest nudity, suggest violence. Nothing will actually be shown. But of course, having you in the shower will make it all that more, well, titillating.
You excuse me.
So as you can tell from that clip there, Hitchcock's wife is not very happy with him at all, and she's very disillusioned. And the rest of the film is the shooting of Psycho and what happens with the film. Now, Anthony Hopkins Anthony Hopkins cast it as Alfred Hitchcock is an interesting one to do. It's very distracting. The prosthesis on him, he's sort of a bit like a whiter version of the Nutty Professor. What they did with Eddie Murphy's character with the big massive fat suit, they've done similar thing with Alfred Hitchcock, and it's very distracting. It's extremely distracting for me. Helen Mirren as his wife Alma and Scarlett Johansson as Janet Leigh, they both steal the show. They're both brilliant. Scarlett Johansson, as me and Andy was having a little discussion before we start the show, is scarily like Janet Leigh.
Yeah,
she really just looked like it.
She is. There's literally moments where, I mean, when I was watching it, I'm not. I have to admit, I'm not a massive fan of Hitchcock's films, but obviously I know what she looks like, and I seriously almost did a double take when she first came onto the screen. I was like, whoa, really? That was quite sort of freaky.
Yeah, Toni Collette also pops up in the film. In a much more than an aunt role, because she's the sort of receptionist when it comes to Alfred Hitchcock, and you've also got Jessica Alba. She's in the Jessica Alba.
Jessica,
that is Jessica.
No, it's Jessica. It's Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. Why was I think Alba's a singer, isn't she, or something? Well, Jessica Biel, she pops up in the movie, and the last film she did was a film called The Tall Man, and so it's nice to see her getting a little bit more of a meaty role, even though it's not a huge role. And the film itself is good. It is a really good film. It just has a few problems in the fact that it's not fully about Alfred Hitchcock. It's rather about Psycho. So it might have been a better idea to toy around with the title around Psycho rather than centered around Hitchcock, because you might think it is a biopic about Alfred Hitchcock when it's not. It's about Psycho itself. But it is still a decent enough film.
I mean, I'm just going to weigh in as well. I really enjoyed the film a lot more than I was expecting to, because as I say, I'm not a fan of Hitchcock. I admit that I'm perfectly aware to admit of what he did with films in the past, what he has done for the film industry with films like Rear Window, Strangers on a Train, and you have obviously then Psycho, and then The Birds, which there is a great reference in this to The Birds. I just want to say that there, because that got a big laugh at one point in this film. But there's things in this. You said about Toni Collette. I think Toni Collette was, as much as she's a fantastic standout performance in this, she totally disappeared in the role. She was absolutely brilliant. And I literally was another one where I was like, is that Toni Collette? It is. And I was just like, I had to think for a second and work out who it was, because I didn't notice her at first. I couldn't tell who she was. And that is a great sign of great casting and a great performance. The look and the style of this film, the way it's done, I hope when it comes Oscars time that it gets at least a good look in there, because they've really done some great work on the production design of this, and the set dressing and the makeup and such all look absolutely fantastic in that film. Okay, so the final film released this week in cinemas is Warm Bodies, which is a comedy zombie horror movie, which is directed by Jonathan Levine. It stars Nicholas Hoult as R, who is a zombie, as we're told at the very start of the film. Starts with a voiceover by his character. Here's that clip.
What am I doing with my life? I'm so pale. I should get out more. I should eat better. My posture is terrible. I should stand up straighter. People would respect me more if I stood up straighter. What's wrong with me? I just want to connect. Why can't I connect with people? Oh, right. It's because I'm dead. I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I mean, we're all dead. This girl's dead. That guy's dead. That guy in the corner is definitely dead. These guys look awful. I wish I could introduce myself, but I don't remember my name anymore. I mean, I think it started with an R, but that's all I have left. I can't remember my name, or my parents, or my job, although my hoodie would suggest I was unemployed.
So R is a zombie in a post-apocalyptic world, which is all filled with zombies, except for the sort of the last city of humans, which are survived and held up in a city which has got a big, massive wall built around it to keep everyone safe in there and all the zombies out. Apart from the fact of that, they then have to sort of go out in little raiding parties to look for supplies, and especially things like medical supplies. When one of these groups is out, including Julie, played by Teresa Palmer, they are attacked by a group of zombies, including R. And amongst all of the attackers and the people that are killed is Julie's boyfriend, who's played by Dave Franco, who is then killed and then his brains eaten by R. Now, the thing about the zombies that is we learn in voiceover and in sort of flashback sequences is that when zombies eat a person's brain, they actually absorb the person's memories. They get all of that person's memories. So he has these memories of Julie and sort of knowing his character and all, and it sparks something in him. It actually sparks a change in him, and he sort of has an interest in her and saves her to stop the zombies from attacking her and eating her. Now, it's a really weird sort of, because it's a thing that's hard to try and explain how this works. Essentially, it is Romeo and Juliet, and it's Romeo and Juliet been turned into a zombie story, if you believe it or not. It's that weird. It's really bizarre. You have this whole thing of that. It's got that story of them sort of him trying to keep her alive and keep her safe. He starts to then develop abilities, things like talking again and saying words a lot more to her, and he basically ends up helping her to try and get back to the City of People. Now it's unfortunately just doesn't quite work. It sounds like it kind of would. It looks like it kind of would from the trailer, but it's just that it's unfortunately it's a weak film, is what it is. It's been rated 12A, which there's certainly moments in it which are surprising. Moments where I honestly was sitting there and I was like, wow, okay, they let that get away with that in a 12. Okay. Things involving sort of, the eating of brains. It's even though it's in a sort of a almost comedy aspect, it's still quite sort of more graphic than I would expect. You have this whole thing of that it's a film which is trying to be too many things. There's sequences in it where you could have a great horror sequence. There's sequences in it where you could have a great comedy sequence. And there's sequences in it where, believe it or not, it does have a setup and decent things in it to actually have a kind of decent romance thing. But because it's trying to be all three, it ends up just not working properly. It needs to decide what it's going to be before it did it. Nicholas Hoult is great as R in it. I mean, especially at the start of the film, he makes a good zombie. He does have a great zombie performance. You've got Rob Corddry, who is in the film as well, who plays another zombie who is his best friend. It's really weird, but the two of them have this scene where they are sort of sitting there and they're just talking between them, and that's how they basically spend their days as friends, as zombies. That the zombies have personalities. You have the whole thing of the weird thing of these bonies zombies, who are the zombies that have then lost all of their skin and are just sort of literally bone and very little skin, walking around, that are the ones that are sort of the worst of the worst. And they're done quite well effect, and they're quite sort of freaky and potentially scary, but it's because it's been toned down for a 12, it just doesn't work. It's unfortunately a mess. John Malkovich turns up later on in the film doing his best sort of general who's running the world now sort of thing, but it's not enough for it. It just doesn't work. Unfortunately, it's a waste, and I was really disappointed. Are you, I'm surprised you haven't seen this yet. I know you wanted to try and see it, but because of it being a zombie thing, which is more your sort of thing.
No, I'm not interested in it, because I knew that it was a 12-year film. I knew that it's a diluted film. And you know how I feel when it comes to horror films that have been diluted. I don't think that out of all the genres of movies, we've seen that it works with animated films in a kid's role, which is fine, because then it goes down to like the trick-or-treat kind of thing, the Halloween kind of thing. The kids, Halloween is for kids, but then you've got the other side of Halloween, which is the extreme, which is the horror, which is the really gory stuff. And in my opinion, there is no middle ground. There is no 12A for horror. It should be 15 or above, where it features scenes of graphic gore, and especially zombies. Zombies should only appear as animated form in a kids' film or in an adult film, and they should not be in a film like this. And I'm just treating it like Twilight, in the fact that I just have no interest in it whatsoever. I know it's not as like girly as Twilight,
no,
but I have no interest in it whatsoever.
I mean, it is definitely, they're trying to fill the Twilight void. Because I mean, you've got a couple other films coming out later this year as well. I mean, one of them, Beautiful Creatures, I think it is, comes out next week or the week after, which is another one. Yeah, it's another one of these ones that's trying to fill it. And then there's I can't remember what it is, but there's another one that comes out in August, which is another one based on a book series, which is trying to fill that supernatural kind of Twilight void. This one doesn't have that. It has a love element to it, but it doesn't have what it needs to try and fill that Twilight void. So if you're going to try and see this as a couple, possibly for Valentine's Day, as a sort of a comedy romance zombie film, you're going to find it's going to try and fill all those categories, and it's not going to have enough to do it.
From what I've heard, the book's better, because I know somebody who's actually read the book that it's based on, and he said that he's not going to see it because he absolutely loved the book itself. So by his suggestion, I would say read the book.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That is it for the cinema section of the show. Thank you for listening live. If you are, then hang around for a moment. Refresh your page when you get. We'll be posting up on Twitter when we are starting the DVD section in just a moment. Until then, we'll see you then.